He's a world-renowned traveling musician. He plays kirtan all over the world. He writes music, composes music, plays music. So Janardhan Prabhu is visiting us from all the way from Miami, where he's a monk, and also he travels across the country in festivals, playing around just kirtan. And he spends 6 months in India, just doing kirtan at the holy places.
18 months.
18 months. So he was telling me he went to India for COVID, and then the COVID broke out. He said he was the happiest in his life because he was stuck in Vrindavan Dham for 2 years straight without any disturbance. Okay, anyway, welcome everybody. I know there are a lot of new people. Some are students from Comparative Religions group, right? And some of them are visitors. We have a no judgment zone here. Please be comfortable. Please don't be nervous. We want you to be happy while you are here. Our program is going to be now. We're going to invite a legend. He met Srila Prabhupada in Australia, was instrumental in developing the first temple in Sydney and Melbourne. After that, was with Prabhupada in India and Mayapur. Then came to America. He was actually one of the originator founders of the Festival of India, which Madhuha Prabhu does. And then him and his wife have built a beautiful sanctuary, beautiful temple in Spanish Fork, Utah. And if you ever go to Utah, while you're driving down the highway, you'll see a beautiful billboard with the most amazing, beautiful temple and a restaurant and whatnot, big cow sanctuary in Spanish Fork, Utah. He developed a second temple in Salt Lake City, Utah. Beautiful. They purchased a school building, right, Charu?
Yeah.
It was a school building which they converted into a temple. So 2 beautiful temples in Utah, thriving temples with beautiful Radha Krishna deities, cow sanctuary, restaurants, everything. So I'd like to welcome His Grace Caru Prabhu to the stage. Hari Bol. Yes, you can see this. This was developed single-handedly by him and his wife. Caru Prabhu also actually, he took the Festival of Colors, the Holy Festival, and he brought it to the West in a major way. And now Festival of Colors, he's the one. And Alankar, can you put a picture of that also? Yeah, put this picture up. Put this picture, yes. So this is Caru Prabhu's effort.
Hari Bol.
Started about 20 years ago. 50,000 people in 2-day festival, Saturday and Sunday, come to this place from all over Utah, all over the world. And now this Festival of Colors, student organizations all over campuses in Europe and America are celebrating this festival. We had our festival. He came to help us out. This was our first festival. About 3,000 people came yesterday. First festival, Ravi, Manish, Leela Didi, they got the Genoa Park with the city of Columbus. Prabhu came to help us out. His glories, his accomplishments, his devotion, his service to Prabhupada is unparalleled. The Oscar for the Best Service Award goes to Caru Prabhu. We're very, very fortunate. He's 76 and he's doing full-time service from 4 in the morning till 9 p.m. every single day. He gives lectures at both Salt Lake City and Spanish Folk temples. So Caru Prabhu will be speaking. It's 11:35 devotees. For about 45 minutes, he'll give a wisdom talk. Please pay attention, okay? Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So just by association with the devotee. So please listen carefully, a wisdom talk. There'll be time for questions and answers at the end. After that, we'll all stand up, we'll have a ceremony, we'll have music, we'll have more singing and dancing. And then about 1 p.m. we'll serve a vegetarian feast, right?
Yeah.
Outside today?
Yeah,
hopefully.
outside, yeah.
If the weather gets better,
Yeah.
outside a little chilly right now. So we'll serve a vegetarian feast. You're welcome to stay back, ask questions, and check us out. So thank you all for coming. Be comfortable. Just one request, if possible, for you, you don't feel, we have space in the front, right? So if everybody can move a little bit closer so that people who come a little bit later, and then, Prabhu, can you move this harmonium away? Just take it outside.
Right here.
You can put it there. Okay, just put it there. Yeah, appreciate this musical chair. Sorry for the botheration. Sorry for the inconvenience. So, Caru, we have a number of new students as well. Okay.
So the fellow that Prem Vilas was describing couldn't show up. I'm here in his stead. I have done 100 color festivals, more than 100.
Caru, just 1 second. And those who cannot sit cross-legged, this is uncomfortable for you, we have chairs in the back. So please don't feel that, okay, you have to be like that for 45 minutes. We have chairs in the back, okay? If you want to take a little stand up and jog and march in place, that's also fine.
Whatever you do, I'm used to filling in the gaps at the Color Fest between bands, and they're doing their sound check, making all kinds of weird noises, screeches and squelches, and I just go right through it. So even if you do jumping jacks, it's not going to bother me. It'll be business as usual. We do a little short invocatory prayer. Oh my God, that's the whole thing. So, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Sivasaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. I apologize if the title of this is kind of too cute. I mean, there's cute, and then there's maybe too cute. There's a talk I gave a number of years ago called Out of the Blue. That's a saying that we have in America. If something comes that's a good thing, and you hadn't expected it to come, you hadn't anticipated, you hadn't planned for it, you don't just say, it was out of the blue. Well, Krishna is sort of blue, so, and we say it all comes from Krishna, so our title today is Out of the Blue. And it's a fact that when you honor Krishna, Krishna is our name for God. God means the most powerful. Krishna means the most powerful, the most beautiful, the most knowledgeable, the most famous, the most strong, and the most humble. God doesn't really cover it all, but Krishna does. So we prefer to call God Krishna because it gives a more complete vision of the absolute truth. When you keep Krishna first place, and we do that, of course, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, God, endows you with a kind of an attractive power. That magnetic power that comes with a chanter brings to that person the right people, the right opportunities, the right breaks, the right contracts, the right ideas, the right resources, the right open doors, and the right influence. And one needn't do anything separately in order to attract all those good things. One only needs to become a good God-centered person. You don't have to go out and foam at the mouth, strive, and worry, and lose sleep at night, and deal with high blood pressure and hypertension. Deal solely and exclusively on your own talent and your own abilities, hoping that everything will work out. All you have to do, if you understand this magnetic principle, is to keep honoring God, chanting His holy name, and the right people, the right connection, the right breaks will find you. They will track you down, come across your path, the favor, the wisdom, the vindication. Why? Because you've become a magnet for God's own transcendental goodness. Now, you've all heard of something that the military employs called a heat-seeking missile, no doubt. It's a program where they program a target into the computer. That missile can travel thousands and thousands of miles. The intended target can be flying through the air faster than the speed of sound, zigzagging, sending out smoke signals, heat bombs, taking all kinds of evasive tactics to try to lose the missile, but it doesn't have a chance. That heat-seeking missile follows it wherever it goes and eventually overtakes it and accomplishes its purpose. In the same way, when you keep God first place by chanting Hare Krishna, that heat-seeking missile of Krishna's favor, Krishna's blessings, Krishna's mercy will help you in all respects. You get the full resources of God's power at your disposal. And other people may look at you and they say, suddenly, out of the blue, his health improved. His cancer is in remission. Suddenly, out of the blue, he lost his job and now he's paying his house off. 40 years in a little tiny house across from OSU campus that can hardly accommodate 30 people comfortably. And there's 600 acres, right? With all the extra land that everyone's bought and everything. Okay, 50 acres. 50 acres with a $12 million temple cultural center, retreat center, children's area, educational institution. Construction started last month. Going to be done in 18 months, which brings it, when's the opening date?
100%.
Okay. People can't understand how these things happen. For them, it's just out of the blue. Facing an illness, out of the blue, they get well. Struggling in your finances, deeply in debt. All of a sudden, you're no longer borrowing, but you're lending. That dream, too big. I don't have the resources. I don't have the connection. So many people are coming against me. And all of a sudden, that mountain becomes a molehill. And the dream becomes within reach, becomes accomplishment. When I look over my life, it's completely evident to me that most of the favor and most of the good breaks I've had, they just came to me because I chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. I didn't have to go chasing after them. Just being my best, and Krishna did more for me than I could ever ask or even imagine. When we originally came to Utah, we had no money at all. We had this crazy idea to build a $1.5 million temple in a little town called Spanish Fork, Utah, in the greater Utah Valley, which was 90% Mormon Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. What had brought us to that area was that we originally bought an AM radio station in 1980. We got a very reasonable price. It wasn't doing that well, being under the commercial shadow of Provo stations and Salt Lake City stations. We bought this radio station. It came with 5 acres of land. But when we needed to raise $1.5 million in around the early 1990s to build the temple in Spanish Fork, we thought about how to raise the money. And one of the things, a lady came and offered us $315,000. We bought the radio station for about $125,000. So she offered us $315,000 to buy the radio station. So we sold it to her to raise money for the temple. She ran it for 2 years. 2 years later, she passed away. Her husband had no interest in running the radio station. 6 months later, he sold it back to us for $50,000. You can hear that radio station now anywhere in the world due to modern technology. If you have an app on your phone, free download app like Simple Radio, and you're anywhere near Wi-Fi, you can get that radio station anywhere in the world. At that time, it was just a little AM 1,000 watt daytime radio station that you could only get a radius of about 30 miles. Not only that,
we get the radio station back and a $250,000 net profit out of it. But the best radio engineer in Utah, Nate Benson, just walked in the door one day. He said, I've been listening to your radio station. I'd like to offer my services. This man gets like $150 an hour. One time he was in our radio station dealing with an issue, and he gets a call from the Utah Jazz. They say, we got a problem. We got a problem broadcasting the game tonight. You're the only man that can help us. So can you please come? We'll pay you double time. So he's been doing all the engineering, bringing it up to standards and codes, and he's digitalized and computerized the whole radio station, so it just runs on its own for like a month at a time. And he's never accepted a penny in salary. These blessings, we didn't go after them. We just chanted Hare Krishna. People think, well, I don't have time to, I've got this and this and this and this and this and this to do. I've got these and these and these responsibilities. Every day my to-do list is, I need to add Krishna consciousness like I need a hole in the head. No, you can't afford not to add Krishna consciousness, because I'll tell you something, your life is not going to get ever more simple. You just stuck your hand in tar, baby. Maya works like that, you know. One little thing becomes a second, becomes a third, becomes a fourth, and pretty much you're tied up hand and foot. Nobody who tried to solve their problems, nobody ever tried to be happy through temporary material means ever achieved their goal. They did not succeed in making life simpler. They just got more and more entangled and enmeshed. If you do this one thing, yata taror mula nisayachanam tatskanda bujoncha prasho anoparakshita tataivacharam. You just water the root of the tree. You put a smile on the root of all creation, the Supreme Personality of God. You just do one thing, and your life becomes so simple. Right now, you have to please your classmates. You have to please your teachers. You have to please your employer. You have to please your children. You have to please so many people. If you're a politician, you have to please your constituency. Krishna consciousness, you only have one person to please, but he just happens to be the source, the root, and the seed-giving father of all living beings, and the origin of all good things, of all blessings. And here's the good news. You think that was good enough? Here's the even better news. Krishna, or God's dream for your life, is bigger than your dream for your life. If you just go on, keep on being your best right where you are, you will come into favor, you'll come into promotion, opportunity bigger than you could possibly ever imagine. You won't have to go after these things separately. They'll come to you just like to a magnet. I was a young man. Young men are always looking for women. Young women are always looking for men. It's the way of the world. I was in a cafe in Singapore, 1969. I've never met any devotees at this point. I was sitting at this big round table with a bunch of other male travelers. There were probably 7 seats at the table. 6 of them were occupied. I was there, guy from Israel, guy from Netherlands, guy from Germany, so on and so forth. There was 1 vacant seat. So I just happened to be looking out to the street, and all of a sudden, framed in the entrance there was this beautiful young lady. I don't know why, but she was wearing an evening gown with one of those little Afghan vests. And she was looking here and there in the cafe to see where she might sit. So I didn't even think about it. I just got up, and with a flourish and with as much panache as I pulled out the 1 vacant chair at our table. She saw me, and she sat down, and she took the chair. Just naturally. We got to talking, and we both wanted to go to Australia from Singapore. I already had my travel arranged. I had some friends. I was going to go to their home, and they were Indonesian. I was going to spend a couple of weeks with them in Surabaya, and then I was going to go to Portuguese Timor. I was going to spend a month in Bali on the way, and then fly from Portuguese Timor to Darwin. And she also wanted to go to Australia. She didn't have much money. She was an artist. And so her idea was she would hitch a ride on a freighter from Singapore to Australia. there was a captain's club nearby, and she asked me to chaperone her while we went to the captain's club. So we did that. In those days, there wasn't security or anything. We just walked right in. And we said, are there any captains going to Australia? And they said, yeah, there's this Norwegian guy. We went up, we introduced ourselves to him. He said, sure, I'll take you on. I'll put you as an unpaid member of the crew, the assistant bursar. So her passage was arranged, and I went off the next day with my friends. No sooner I got to Indonesia, and I was thinking, Chris, you're an idiot. That was such a nice girl, so intelligent, so talented. You really liked her. It seemed like there was a spark there. You don't even know her last name. All you know is that her name was Christine. There must be like 5 million Christines in the world. There wasn't internet. There wasn't cell phones. There's no way. Not knowing her, I just knew she was from England. That's it. And I just thought, you idiot. You didn't, you're trying to be cool. You're trying to play detached artificially. And now you lost a really good chance there. And I just felt, I spent a month in Bali and I spent 2 weeks in Indonesia. It was like 6 weeks altogether. And it was delightful, but at the same time, I just had this little heaviness that, why are you so dumb? Why are you so obtuse? Just in the name of being cool. You didn't even get her last name. So finally, after 6 weeks, I got to Australia, landed at Darwin. Nobody stays in Darwin. This is 1969 Darwin. Maybe it has more things to recommend itself today, but in those days, you just went through Darwin, that's all. So I landed, and I was on my way to the bus station. Didn't think anything of it. And I'm passing this outdoor cafe, and I hear this, hi there. I look over, and there she is. There she is. Long story short, we've been married for 53 years. People talk about the success of building 2 temples, a radio station, the biggest festival of colors. If you have a wife who has a really good work ethic, who's devoted to you and you're devoted to her, and she's an artist and you're good with people and good with fundraising, honestly, they say a man and a woman, 1 + 1. It's not addition. You get the right man, the right woman, the right chemistry, it's multiplication. There's no limit to what a couple can do if they're devoted to making their lives God-centered and making a difference on behalf of the Lord. 20 years later, I'm hoping to get one smile from you guys, even just this is a tough audience,
I think everybody's bored.
Well, I hope so, because I would hate to think you guys don't have any sense of humor at all. Yeah, I'm gonna sit. I won't put the computer down, but I'll sit more straight. Okay, so as a postscript to this whole thing, 20 years later, she told me that when she saw this guy jump up, pop up like Jack in the Box, and with a flourish pull out the chair, she confided in me 20 years later, her first thought was, he'd make a good husband. So anyway, I didn't have to chase it down. It just happened, just came to me like that. Krishna has the right people lined up in your future. You just have to honor him. He's especially designed a plan for your life that people will come across your path that you'll need in order to accomplish your mission for him. We don't have to worry. We don't have to make it happen. We don't have to go through life playing up to people, trying to convince people to like us. People don't like you. One of the corollaries of our theme today is just let them go. They're not a part of your destiny. You don't need them. They don't celebrate you. They don't see you as a gift, one of a kind, and a treasure, and just move past them. Don't hang on to people that aren't attracted to you. You know how you're going to know when you meet the right person? They can't live without you. The one whom Krishna designed for you will think that you're the greatest thing in the world, and vice versa. Make sure that goes 2 ways. You want to be If you want to be treated like a king, then make sure you treat your wife like a queen. What Krishna's planned for you is much, much greater than anything you've ever dreamed. Krishna were to show you right now what he has in mind for you, and where he's planning on taking you, the favor, the promotion, the influence, it would blow your mind. And sure, you may think you're not the most qualified, or that you don't have the personality or the talent, and that's okay, because none of this is going to happen because of your talent or your personality or hard work. It's going to happen because you please Krishna by honoring him. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Evam Pravardidam Chakram Nani Hartya Agaram in Mogam Partam Sajivati. It's a circle. Krishna never accepts. You can never make a sacrifice for Krishna that Krishna will not reciprocate. He's not an ungrateful, low-class person that takes things for granted. And we all know people like that, right? They just take everything for granted. They never express appreciation. They're doing you a favor by accepting that gift. That's not Krishna. He's just the opposite. You'll never do something for Krishna that he won't keep it in mind, that he won't magnify it, and that he won't pay you many, many, many times over. That's the nature of God. We can count on his faithfulness. We can count on his appreciation. And you'll remember previously when I mentioned the 6 qualities of God, I mentioned humility. What does that mean? You had so many options today. There are so many other places you could have been. There's so many other things you could have done. You know what Krishna thinks of your coming here today? Even if you only have come to the temple once and you'll never come back again in your life, do you think God takes that for granted? You think, oh, they only came once, but they didn't follow up. Check them off my list. In his unlimited humility, Krishna thinks, oh, you came to the temple? You had so many options and you exercised your free will, your power of choice to come to the temple and listen to Janardhan and Caru and Prem Vilas. How nice. How nice. God's not the kind of person that says, yeah, you should be here. You should be here. Not only today, but every week. And when you come, make sure you bow down and eat rice. Hit the floor. Because I'm God and you're nothing. If you think that's God, that we may have gotten a skewed, perverted idea of God through our material father, grandfather, or whatever. I hope you didn't. But it happens more and more often in this age, unfortunately. That's not the Supreme Father. Don't let an image of your Heavenly Father and his shortcomings taint your view of the Almighty Lord. He's the most high-minded and he's the most humble. Whenever you do even the slightest thing for him, just chant Hare Krishna, then he tries to outdo you. He takes that as a very, very big thing. He never forgets it, and he'll always reciprocate anything that you offer to him. And the good news is that he'll always outdo us. When we do what we can do, and then Krishna does what he can do, you think you're going to get the short end of the stick on that one? No. Prabhupada said, you'll never be the loser, but you'll be the gainer millions and millions and millions of times over. And you don't have to have special talents or qualities or abilities. The best devotees of Krishna, which you may know, are not the most dazzlingly intellectual. They're not the most aristocratic. They don't have the best connections. The most elevated devotees of Krishna are the simple gopis, the cowherd milkmaidens of Vrindavan. Krishna says to them, only by virtue of your devotion, not your postgraduate degree, not your job, not your bank balance, not your stature in society, not your connections, not your good looks. Krishna says to the gopis, on the basis of your devotion to me, then you have bankrupted me. God, the creator of millions and millions of universes, says that in the face of the unconditional devotion which the gopis have for him, he has become bankrupted. He creates millions of material and spiritual universes. He says, in a day of Brahma, in 4,300,000,000 years, I could never, naparayaham niravadya shashadu No Mabhidandurya Samrita Tava Pratyakaram. Even were I to have a day of Brahma during which to repay you, I still could never come to the end of my indebtedness to you. Just because of their doing that one thing, simply being addicted to Krishna, chanting his holy names, Krishna in the morning, Krishna in the evening, Krishna for supper time, Krishna dreaming, Krishna in the morning, getting up, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. The gopis would think in Vrindavan of Krishna going out herding the cows in the morning. Krishna would go barefoot. They would think, how is it Krishna's going barefoot? There's stones and pebbles, there are thorns, there are goat heads all day long, and they would suffer. They would experience anguish, thinking of the distress that Krishna might be feeling walking along the forest path without any proper shoes on. They would think to themselves, his shoes are like feathers. It must be paining him when he steps on all those sharp objects. And then they think, when he comes back at the end of the day, we will soothe his hurting feet by placing them on our breasts. And then another thought follows on the heels of that thought. They thought then that Krishna's feet are so tender that maybe our breasts are too hard for him. See, these are the ones that hold God, the unconquerable, unlimited Lord, in the palm of your hand. And the point is that God's favor on you is more important than your talent, more important than your education, more important than what family you come from. You could have less talent, less ability, less connections, but if you have the favor of Krishna, that's going to trump everything else. You'll go further and faster than people who have much more than you, but who don't dedicate it to Krishna and recognize that that's the source of all good things. Right now, you may not see how any of this could happen. Doesn't seem possible, but here's another good piece of news. You don't have to figure it out. You just have to keep being your best where you are, bloom where you're planted, get to work on time, do more than you have to do, be a person of excellence, a person of integrity, and the right people will find you, the right opportunities will track you down. Don't be frustrated if it doesn't happen on your timetable. First, Krishna may have some tests for you to pass. First, you might have to prove to Krishna that he can trust you in the little things, that you can be contented and thank him and enjoy your life right where you are. After all, if you can't be faithful to Krishna in the wilderness, then how's he going to trust you in the promised land? Keep a good attitude, even when you're not getting your way. Be your best when you're not getting the credit at work. You did most of the work on that project, but no one even mentioned your name. You've been volunteering at the hospital for 10 years and you have yet to hear anyone say, thank you. What do? You just keep on. Keep on when it's difficult. Keep on because your character is being developed. Keep on because if you pass these tests and Krishna knows he can trust you, then he's gonna get you to where you're supposed to be. The right people, the right opportunities, the open doors, they are in your future. The wisdom, the contracts, the houses, the temples, the missions. No good thing will God withhold from you because you honor him by chanting his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada says of the Maha Mantra, quote, it is enacted from the spiritual platform and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower level of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. I've learned that even a touch of Krishna's favor can take you further than you could go in your whole lifetime on your own. Quit thinking, some of you, I'm getting further behind. I'll never accomplish my dreams. I'm wasting my time by chanting Hare Krishna while others are taking courses, getting promoted, and so on and so forth. No. Krishna has explosive blessings in the future of those who keep him first place. Blessings that will thrust you in one fell swoop years and years ahead. You may say, true, that sounds good, but I don't have the talent. I don't know the right people. I don't have the money. That's all right. Krishna has the talent. Krishna knows the right people. Krishna has the money. Krishna has already lined up everything you need. They're good breaks right now. They have your name on them. As you keep honoring him by chanting, being your best, you're going to be like a magnet that's going to draw in what already has your name on it. When is this going to happen? I'll tell you. At exactly the right time. We talked in this connection about the baby locusts. The baby locusts, they have these crooked, ungainly legs, can't really run very well. And then it has these tiny wings that aren't even enough to give it lift off the ground. You can imagine the locust in its infancy, before it's mature. Wouldn't it be easy and tempting for the locust to look at his limbs, his wings, and get all down and depressed? He might compare himself to the rabbit. Why couldn't I have legs that I could run like the rabbit? Or he might think, why couldn't I have wings like the eagle so I could spread them and fly? Seems like God singled me out as a joke. He shortchanged me. I'm second class. I'm subpar. I don't have what it takes. God, why did you do this to me? Why did you make me like this? Seems like you started and then lost interest, got diverted somewhere else and left me as a half-finished product. I don't have legs to run. I don't have wings to fly. What's going on here, Lord? Then one day, the locust hears the breeze whistling through the tops of the trees. He hears the limbs, branches clacking together, and then he knows exactly how and why he was designed like that. His time has come. He crouches. His wings won't give him liftoff, but with that breeze and with his long legs, he can leap up into the air and then spread his wings and catch that wind. And with the help of the wind, the locust can travel in one single leap over 200 times his bodily length. What do we learn from this? If it hasn't happened yet, don't get discouraged. Krishna knows what he's doing. He didn't make a single mistake when he made you. He made you a masterpiece, but you might just have to be patient until you come into your season. If it would have happened earlier, it would not have been the best thing for you. Just keep faithful right where you are. Bloom where you're planted. Have the attitude that something good is always out there in front of you. And when you do that, you keep in faith, you keep a good attitude, you're like a magnet. Things that have your name on them. Healing, a spouse, your lifetime partner, that child that you've been believing for. Krishna has already chosen to be yours. An invention that will touch the world with your name on it. There are explosive jumps in your future that will come at just the right time. Get ready. Radhanath Swami, as you know, lived anonymously as a brahmachari in the brahmachari ashram in New Vrindavan for 7 years, worshiping the deities. Even the other residents of New Vrindavan never went to the brahmachari ashram, and vice versa, hardly. And in snow, weather, you had to make sure you had enough food and water because you were pretty much isolated. For 7 years, he acted completely anonymously, happy, contented, self-satisfied. But anybody who came, he would talk to them about Vrindavan, the glories of Vrindavan. And the temple management noticed that one by one, the devotees would leave and go to Vrindavan. They were losing manpower. So how to solve this situation? They forced Radhanath Swami to take sannyas. They forced him. And I don't have to tell you, now 60,000 disciples. Your time will come. Just be patient. Bloom where you're planted. Be your best wherever Krishna has put you at the present moment. And you'll pass that test, and Krishna has explosive blessings for you in the future. It's not over till God says it over. Here's the key. Don't seek the blessings. Seek Krishna, and Krishna will send the blessings to you. That's where a lot of us miss it. Often we think, I got to get this promotion. I have to meet this person. I must get my career going faster. And yes, we do have to use our talents. We have to have goals. We have to have mountains out in front of us to climb. But we also have to be determined to take the steps of faith that we need in order to invoke the favor of Krishna, because without his sanction, nothing can happen. So you can live peacefully, at rest, sleep well at night, knowing that because you're honoring God and chanting Hare Krishna, the right people, the right opportunities, the right doors will open and track you down. It is said that the wealth of the ungodly will eventually find its ways into the hands of those who worship the Lord. Notice, because you're righteous, because you're living a God-centered life, Krishna has laid up treasures for you. And at the right time, eventually those treasures, those favors are going to find you. What that means is they're looking for you right now. Now you can't think defeat, you can't think lack, you can't think struggle and attract those favors which are already en route to you. You may not have seen them yet, but don't get discouraged. Just keep honoring God and keep faith that some of his promises are on their way to you. Some of those eventuallys are right around the corner. In 1940s, there was a Mormon visionary named Bishop John Coyle. He passed away in 1952. From where we are in Spanish Fork, there's a mountain, and you can see his little house up there. He had a vision. It's another thing altogether, but he had a vision there was gold in that mountain. He had a number of followers, and they mined that mountain for many years. There's several books about it. That's another story. But he was credited with having visions of the future. So as he sat on the porch of his little house there, sometime in the late 1940s, it's about 2 miles away from where our temple in Spanish Fork is, John Coyle looked out and he said to some other people that were sitting there on the porch with him that one day there will be a great temple on that very hillside. He didn't say that it would be an LDS temple. So he saw what had not yet manifested, even in our minds, what to speak of architectural plans, stucco, concrete. He saw something that existed that Krishna had laid aside for us since the beginning of creation. That temple was built by Krishna but it had been laid aside for two fools named Caru and Bhabi, who rushed into an area that's 90% Mormon, where wise men would fear to tread. So all we had to do was claim it. We didn't actually build it. We didn't raise funds for it. We didn't design it. It was already built. It was already paid for. It was already designed. All we had to do is get our butts out of the comfort zone and stretch our faith. That's all we had to do. And at the right time, it found us. The temple in Spanish Fork opened in 2001, and that was, Krishna has things beyond what you can even think or imagine. We didn't even come to Utah to build one temple. We just came because we had a little down payment for a small AM radio station. Now that radio station broadcasts all over the world. We didn't come to build one temple. We built one temple in Spanish Fork, the ground up. But Krishna had plans beyond what we could imagine. Again, then we built a second temple. We organized the most popular color festival in North America, and we've been running that since 1995. And we're here in your good association, which is just one more amongst many, 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 many blessings. In other words, you have everything that you need to fulfill your destiny. It's already been laid up for you. Your name's on it. You just have to do one thing. Making pleasing God as your highest priority. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. That means before you go out to see that movie with your friends, before you read that bestseller, before you eat that unoffered food, put your foot down and say, no, I'm going to please Krishna. I'm going to watch movies that please Krishna. I'm going to read books that please Krishna. I'm going to eat food that please Krishna. For that matter, I'm going to hang around with people who are devotees and not non-devotees. I'm going to walk away. Why? Because I want to fulfill my destiny. I want to come into my eventualities. But before you tell that person off, it means you bite your tongue and you declare, I'm not going to get a slave to anger. I'm not going to lose it. I want to please Krishna, and Krishna is pleased when I bite my tongue, when I keep my mouth closed, I zip it up. I'm a peacemaker. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. You do like this, and all the forces of darkness cannot keep you from your destiny. If you get tight with Krishna, make friendship with Krishna, you'll never be cheated, and you'll always get the help that you need. As was true for us in Spanish Fork with the radio station, with the temple there, with Salt Lake City, the eventualities that Krishna had lined up for you are going to boggle your mind. The eventualities are going to be more than you could think or possibly ask for. God has not only arranged them for you, but he's taken a step further. He's stamped your name on them. They are already marked as a part of your destiny. What do we do? Worry, struggle, get stressed out, try to force it to happen, manipulate, play up to this person, and hope they throw us a few crumbs from the table? No, you don't have to play up to people at all. You don't have to beg people. You don't have to hope that they'll do you a favor. Why? Because you're not a beggar. You're a child of the Most High God. You have royal blood flowing through your veins. You're wearing an invisible crown of favor. The creator of the universe has called you, equipped you, empowered you, and chosen you. You're strong. You're powerful. You're a magnet. You're very close to attracting that for which you've been hoping and praying and believing. Why? Because you're honoring God. You're keeping in first place. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. You've been faithful, and so Krishna is about to release, and eventually in your life, it's going to be bigger than you can ever imagine. And when you meet that person's going to be better than you ever dreamed. You waited a long time, but when they show up, you're going to say, it's well worth the wait. Well, true, you're just getting my hopes up. Guilty. I am getting your hopes up because why? You can't have faith without hope. And for some of you, a word, it's easy to get into a rut thinking that God's been good to me. I have a good family. I'm so blessed already. I'm here today to tell you that as good as it might be in your life, you ain't seen anything yet. You haven't even scratched the surface of what Krishna has in store for you. Some of you are going to write a book. Some of you are going to produce a movie, a song that's going to touch the world. An idea will come to you. You don't have to go after it. Some of you are going to start a business that will be a global force. Some of you are going to have a ministry that's going to affect nations. Some of you will raise a child who might be the president of the United States. The eventualities that Krishna has in your future are going to boggle your mind like nothing you've ever seen before. He raised you up to take new ground for the kingdom, to go where others have not gone. Dream big, believe big, pray big, make room for a big God to do something big in your life. Now, one final story. I heard about a young Krishna devotee in India who came from an extremely poor family. They didn't have electricity, running water. They lived out in an open field in a little hut they built. A landowner next door was extremely wealthy, owned a huge farm with thousands of cattle, many different crops, and he sold milk and vegetables to the local people. He was very greedy. He charged very, very high prices. A lot of people couldn't afford what he was selling. One day, about 10 of the wealthy farmers' cows broke out, and they came over to the little hut where the devotee and his family lived. The wealthy man's workers came and they retrieved those cows and put them back inside the owner's fence. The next day, the same 10 cows broke out and came back over. Happened again and again and again and again. The owner got frustrated at spending money and labor to bring the cows back. At the time, he was spending more money to bring the cows back than they were worth. Finally, he told his workers, just tell that Krishna devotee that he can have these 10 cows. I'll give them to him as a gift. And naturally, the devotee was thrilled. You know how this goes, right? He started selling milk and dairy products to the villagers at a much lower price than the wealthy man. And before long, he had customers lined up at his door, and he was able to buy more cows with a profit. His business kept growing so much that the owner of the large farm came over. He was on the verge of bankruptcy, and he said, I can't compete with you. Why don't I sell you my whole property? The devotee purchased his company for a fraction of its value, and today he has a very, very successful farming operation with dozens of employees, and he sells people produce and milk at a very reasonable price. But it all started when the cows came looking for him and wouldn't go home. What is that? Like a magnet, he attracted the goodness of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You don't have to worry how it's going to work out. Krishna knows how to send the cows to you. What has your name on it? The real estate, the good breaks, the businesses, the temples, the festivals, the radio station. All these eventually will find themselves in your hands. Scripture says that trouble chases sinners while blessings chase the righteous. And you are the righteous. You're here tonight to listen to what we have to say and to chant with us. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because of that, I'm going to prophesy for you. Favor is chasing you, promotion is chasing you, healing is chasing you, cows are looking for you. Victory is on its way. Don't ever say, I'll never get married, I'll never get out of debt, I'll never get well again. You know what that's doing? That's demagnetizing your magnet. It's taking away its natural attractive power. As children, we all play with magnets. Did you ever put something near the magnet that demagnetized it? We've all had that experience, right? You're taking away its power to pull in what belongs to you. See? So what I'm doing today with this communication is we're not only not demagnetizing you, which happens when you look at Facebook and you read the news and you hang out with some of your office workers, but what we're doing today is turning up. We're multiplying the power on your magnet by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And if we realize that God has put a magnifying blessing on our lives, and we go out each day with the attitude that something good and eventually is going to happen to me today, then God comes in. You're giving God permission to do the exceedingly abundantly above and beyond. Every one of us can look back our lives and remember a time when we unexpectedly saw God's favor out of the blue. You didn't go after it. It came after you. He's done it in the past. And the good news is that he's not only going to do it in the future, but if you keep putting him first place, what he's going to show you in the future will make what you've seen in the past pale in comparison. Can I tell you, he has explosive blessings coming your way, and they're going to thrust you to a greater level than you could ever imagine. You're going to look back at some point and say, how in the world did I ever get here? I'm not the most qualified, the most talented. I don't have the experience. It's okay. Krishna does. He knows how to get you to where you're supposed to be. All through the day, make this declaration. I'm blessed. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. That's turning the magnetic power up, drawing in good breaks, drawing in promotions, drawing in healing, favor, ideas, contracts, and creativity. Krishna is about to release what already has your name on it. You're not going to have to go after it. It's going to come after you. It's going to be bigger than you could have ever imagined. It's going to happen sooner than you thought. You're about to come into the fullness of your destiny and become everything that Krishna created you to be in this life. And next life, go back to home, back to God. If any of that sounds good to you, join me in raising your arms, and we can say loudly together, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I usually, in Utah, I don't ask questions because I just want to leave that, and I'm afraid someone will come out of left field. But if you have any questions about the subject matter, to deepen our meditation and not to hijack it, please feel free. Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. There was such an inspiring class. Wonderful. So I had a question. You mentioned in the beginning of the class that if somebody doesn't like you or believe in you, then you let go and move on. So I had a question about that. So how do we know that it's time to leave and move on, or we should be humble and try to correct because it could be my problem that the person doesn't like me?
We should always be on the lookout to where we can lend a helping hand, give an encouraging word, maybe even make a loan. But when you get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning, the person wants you to come and post bail for them, it's time to walk away. We want to help people to get back on their feet, but we do not want to be used by them to perpetuate their dysfunctionality. We can help them to get on their feet and take responsibility for their own lives. And at the point we see they're not doing that, just walk away. Walk away. Love them, but from a distance. Any other questions on topic? Yes, Prabhuji.
I was just thinking that how distress comes without our endeavoring, so happiness.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a theme that we.
But you do have to do something to incur extraordinary blessings. This is definitely a proactive movement. It's not, there's nothing passive about Krishna consciousness. We're in the material world. And the default setting is lethargy, depression, temporality, defeat. In Ecclesiastes, the most wise man in the Bible said, vanity, vanity, all is vanity. What was the conclusion of the wisest man? He says, it's all useless. There's no point to it whatsoever. That's if you identify with matter. That's if you think of yourself as material and you try to achieve success through material things. But it's exactly the opposite when you realize that I'm an eternal spark of soul, part of God, full of bliss and knowledge. Then everything has meaning, everything has purpose. But the hinge, the thing that holds it all together is keeping God in the center. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yeah. Any other questions? So you guys have probably had enough of me. I was on stage all day yesterday. Gave Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning. Sunday feast. So I'll get out of your hair tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. But if you ever want me to come back, I got so much from, this community is like a family. There's no limit to what you can do. I believe this project is not the end. Right now you're thinking, oh, if we just open this project and run it. I remember we thought that way in Spanish Fork. If we could just open the temple, it would be the achievement. Actually, if you go back to when we were in Los Angeles, we thought if we could just buy a radio station, that would be a lifetime's accomplishment. Who knew? Who could have thought that beyond buying a radio station, we'd build one temple and we'd build another temple? And I think the best is yet to come. I think the best is yet to come. So right now you're thinking that this is an end. An end if we just build the temple and build, and that's fine. That's the way you should be thinking. But I'm putting you on notice. This isn't the end. Krishna has, this is just a step on the way. He's got even bigger things in mind. Just keep loving each other. Keep tight like a family. Keep God first place. There's no limit. None of us knows the places that Krishna has in mind to take us individually and collectively. We can't. Our minds are too small. That's what makes it so much fun. Hare Krishna.
Please will all stand up. Aarti is just beginning. We'll have Kirtan, stand up Kirtan. Hare Krishna.